Hey everyone, Mango7Roll here. How we doing today? Welcome to another episode of Epic 7, and today we're just gonna go over a really quick thing that was talked about on the World's End Table Talks, which was today, by the way, with Shotgun Shogun, Cafe Kaz. Wow, way to butcher that name, Mango. Panshui and Deity? I'm not sure, but I know he's been doing work in Abyss that I haven't been, so props to you. Also, of course, Mashu and New. So let's just listen for a second here, and they're currently talking about my favorite new best girl, Landy.
At the same time of like turn cycling, you want those buffs on when you attack, right?
Yeah.
Here
so
comes.
Going to your suggestions, by the way, guys. Maybe like some unique passive where she could ignore buffs personally, or like defense pen. Personally, I don't think that's going to help her. Just because going back to what I said earlier,
Watch Mashu.
with Remnant Violet, like she suffers the issue.
Look at him,
where
he's starting to smirk.
She's like prime target that there's nothing stopping you from like just
Right here.
getting rid of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For now.
For now.
Problem too.
He was thinking
But
about that.
it's
He
confirmed
knows.
that Landy is getting buffed.
Oh,
so
confirm.
It is confirmed
Fog.
that
Yeah.
Landy
specifics.
We don't know
is
specifics.
getting
We did not say
buffed.
neither confirmed nor denied. That is confirmed, but yeah.
Not confirmed nor deny, like Mashu said, 100% confirmed. So let's take a look at Landy in game here, and I kind of want to talk about her. I've used her extensively in all forms of different builds, so I feel like I have a lot to say about Landy, so let's jump in here. Okay, so here is my current version of Landy. I think this is my favorite iteration so far. She's sitting at plus 15. I've had her plus 15 since the beginning. She's triple S, so I really can't get any more invested than this. And she's sitting on a counter crit set, 13k HP, 1100 defense, 3400 attack, 167 speed, 75 crit rate, and 278 crit damage. So she's kind of spread all over the place in terms of what she's doing and what she currently does, and her crit rate and stuff like that. So obviously there's stuff wrong, but it's just kind of how I like to build her right now. And I actually nerfed her recently with this helm, so she had better gear as of 24 hours ago before my showcase last night. So let's talk about her in general. So first off, I'm gonna approach Landy as a lore perspective. Landy is somebody who maintains public order. Like, that's kind of her thing. It says it right there. It's in the story. Everything about it kind of like exemplifies how important that is to her character. So when I found out her character revolved around buffs and punishing buffs, to me, that made sense that she was maintaining order of buffs. You know, like buffs are drugs, right? Like, you're not allowed buffs with Landy around, so she punishes you for that. She takes them away, she confiscates them, she punishes you, she makes it so with Landy around you probably shouldn't be doing buffs. But that's not what she really accomplishes, right? Like, use buffs against her, it helps you out. Who cares if it buffs up her skill 3 here? Who cares if it buffs up her skill 2? It doesn't matter because buffs are so strong and you don't get punished for it, right? She gets slightly buffed, but not enough for it to matter. So what she does right now, I think, is her CR manipulation. I think her fire, her skill 1 is fantastic. Being able to get that 15%, 30% combat readiness just from an auto attack, which works with dual attacks, it works with Sword of Judgment. Stuff like that is fantastic, and I think that works really, really well with her. I do really like her skill 1, and also her skill 1 does a substantial amount of damage as well. Her skill 2, boosting her attack, stacking a bunch of times, resets the cooldown of full burst. That is cool idea and all, and it's fun, but it doesn't really do much, you know? Like, this doesn't really do much damage. It doesn't protect her. There's nothing that really happens. So I'm a huge fan of fire because that's awesome, but the weird thing is, I mean, I guess it does punish them because you do get it doubled, but how do I say this right? So the way I want to use her is, let's say you are running Landy and the enemy team has Crow, Carmen, and somebody else with buffs. I don't even know. 3 people with buffs, just buffs for days. Dien as well. she does nothing versus that team, like legit zero. Even though every single one of them kind of revolves around buffs, she'll do nothing because she doesn't punish that hard enough. Not only that, but she doesn't survive at all either. Like her abilities don't help her survive in any way. So thematically, I want people to, let's say you have Landy on a team, I want the enemy crowd to have to think about whether or not they want to use their skill 2 and put defense buff up. Because I want them to have punishments. I want them to have, what's the word? When you do something and something happens because of it. Why can't I remember this word? It's a simple word, Mango. You can do this. Repercussions? No, it's simpler. I don't know. Tell me in the chat. I'll remember it later. Consequences. Yeah, that was a tough word. I want people to have consequences for doing that. And again, that's just me looking at it from a lore perspective. From a power perspective, there's a couple things I think that are problematic. One is if you want to make her exceptional for pure damage, which is what people want, but not necessarily me, making her skill 3 do quite a bit more damage would be fantastic, because right now this just doesn't do enough damage, not at all. So there's multiple ways you can do this by making it penetrate defense, which I'm not a big fan of. You can make it do X amount extra damage depending on how many buffs they have. You can make it negate buffs, so if somebody has defense buffs, it acts as if it doesn't have it. There's tons you can do from that perspective. But what I like personally is the policing aspect, you know? Like, so what I would like to see from Full Burst is have it steal the buffs first, whether it gives it to just her or the whole team, and not just to spell, because you want to punish, right? You don't want it to just disappear. You want to steal it. You want to absorb it. You want to confiscate it, you know, like you're confiscating those drugs and like using them in the back room, you know, like that. And you want to do that. So what I would like to see is have Full Burst do that first and then pop off with Full Burst. That way you have the ability to punish and the ability to do extra damage because of it, and just threats all around. I would also like to see the Chief is on the scene reduce damage by X amount of buffs on the opponent potentially, or perhaps X amount of buffs on Landy. So after she steals buffs, she does take less damage because of it on top of having the buffs. So for example, if she takes Crow's defense buff, she'll get herself her defense buff, but it will also give her 10% damage reduction per buff on top of that. Something like that to keep her alive. And some of this might be OP, it's just the theory behind it, right? We're thinking about. So there's a lot going on with Landy, and I'm very excited to see how they handle this. And I'm also excited to see how they handle it with the community, right? Like, do they rerun Landy right away? Do they just forget it all around? Do they compensate at all? I'm really curious how they're going to handle this, because it's something that they haven't really done, and they're kind of setting a precedent by doing this, which is something I think they needed to do, because the fact, the idea that you weren't able to touch limited units before was something that I think was really detrimental to the game. So I'm really excited for this. I cannot wait to see what they do. So let me know what you think they should do with Landy in the description below. These are just ideas I'm throwing around. It's nothing I've thought thoroughly of. I mean, I've thought a lot about it, but I haven't like put it down on paper to think what might be the best. I've just kind of thought about what I would like to see from her and what my problems have been from using her and how I would like to solve those problems. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think and how you would change Landy. And if you're going to be pissed if you didn't summon for her because she wasn't too great at the start, and what you're going to do if they don't rerun her. I'm curious on that too. So feel free to like, comment, subscribe as always, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.